Hello, one all. It's my view of My Hero Academia, chapter 328, No Man is an Island. And it looks like we're about to start the final arc of the series, as All Might reveals that Shigaraki will finish his evolution and become the perfect ultimate symbol of destruction in just 3 days' time, which, is worrisome. Very, very worrisome. I mean, seriously, Deku got back to UA a couple hours ago, and he's been fighting non-stop for the last month, so he needs, a lot of time to rest and recharge. And what's more, I think he still needs to master the second user's quirk. I mean, unless I'm forgetting something, he's mastered, or at least fairly comfortable with all the other quirks, except for the seconds, which hasn't even been mentioned up to this point, so curious, very, very curious. I mean, he didn't use it in his battle against Lady Nagant or his battle against his classmates, but he did use, the smoke screen and the Fajin that the third user gave him, but the seconds is still a mystery, and I'm very, very curious why they haven't revealed it quite yet. I mean, what power does it have? Is it some sort of big ultimate weapon that'll be, his finishing blow against Shigaraki? Like some sort of big blast that, eats up his lifespan and kills him in order to take Shigaraki out as well? I mean, I'm not sure. I'm really, really not sure about that. It could also be the fact that, the second user was the one who was most against Deku becoming, the symbol of peace, the next bearer of One for All, because, he was too kind-hearted and he wouldn't be willing to take the steps needed to actually put Shigaraki down once and for all. So maybe that's creating some sort of, disconnect between the two, and that's why Deku hasn't been able to use the second quirk so far. I'm curious, very, very curious. But regardless, 3 days is not enough time for Deku to get back into full fighting shape, which really makes you wonder how they're going to solve that. I mean, maybe the second quirk is some sort of regeneration thing that's going to let him, recover more quickly and he'll be back into full fighting shape in just a couple hours. Or maybe they'll, go full Dragon Ball here, introduce a hyperbolic time chamber, someone whose quirk lets them, basically stretch out time for a small space. So Deku's going to be able to get, weeks worth of rest, a week's worth of training, a year worth of training before Shigaraki actually awakens. I mean, maybe, but that'd feel, just way, way too broken in the series and just feel, too much like a Deus Ex Machina, so unlikely, very, very unlikely. And we also can't forget that his classmates are spending their last 72 hours setting up a musical festival to raise everyone's spirits, which is, interesting, very, very interesting. I mean, that was like the whole big thing last chapter. They're gonna sing, they're gonna raise everyone's spirits and make everyone happy again, but is that still gonna be the case when they find out, oh, we only have 3 days to stop Shigaraki? Okay, yeah, let's put the music festival on hold. Or is All Might just not going to tell them and they're going to keep planning it until, Shigaraki attacks, what happens next? Because, yeah, putting on a music festival, while it's certainly, good intentioned, does not seem like the best way to prepare for a battle against, a freaking demon lord here. I mean, at the very least, I feel like they should be consulting with Deku. I mean, I know he's supposed to be resting, but Deku is a master tactician. Seriously, if he did not inherit One for All, he'd still be working for Hero, figuring out the best strategies to use against certain villains, basically being his assistant, his coordinator, something like that. So they can all come to Deku and say, hey Deku, do you have any idea how I can use my quirk to solve this problem? Hey Deku, how do you think we can work together to put our quirks together to figure out some way to stop villain X, so on and so forth? I mean, at the very least, I could see Uraraka asking Deku for some advice on how to fight Toga, especially because Toga, revealed to Uraraka that she's now able to copy the quirks of anyone whose blood she consumes, which, makes her so overwhelmingly dangerous and could lead to an absolutely amazing fight. Uraraka basically versus an evil version of herself. Oh, I would love that. I would freaking love to see that. And it would also solve one of the big problems I'm foreseeing in the series. I mean, I think we all know what's going to happen. They're going to invade the Demon Lord's castle, and they're going to do that same old trope thing. When they come to someone blocking their path, instead of all of them just attacking that person at once, one person stays behind and says, oh, I'll deal with her. You guys go on ahead, which, makes absolutely no sense ever. But here it would make a lot of sense because Toga, she can steal quirks and is really, really fast. So if she's fighting a group of people all at once, she'll be able to land a whole bunch of blows and just keep changing her quirk to best suit the environment. So it'd make a lot of sense for Uraraka to try and fight her one-on-one while everyone else goes ahead to fight, the freaking Demon Lord that is Shigaraki. In the same way, I could see it making sense for, Shoto and Endeavor to fight Dabi because, Dabi, his attacks are very, very wide range, and Shoto and Endeavor both have a certain amount of fire resistance because of their quirk, so they'd be, less likely to die than anyone else actually fighting Dabi. And just speaking of that resistance, let's not also forget that Dabi has ice resistance because he inherited that from his mother, meaning that Shoto really wouldn't be able to use ice all that effectively on Dabi, and we need to fight him with fire, his father's fire. And that could definitely be symbolic of him overcoming, his scarred side, his hatred of his father, all that negativity that once held him down, that once restrained him. Now he's free, that he's managed to defeat Dobby, now he's managed to make his fire burn even hotter than Dobby's fire. I am kind of curious what Dobby's going to do in the end of the series, though, because will Shoto and Endeavor actually kill their family? Will Endeavor actually, stand there while his son is murdered in front of him? I really can't see it happening. Maybe, we're going to get Dobby captured alive somehow, some way, and then, in the epilogue of the series, Endeavor and his mother will go visit him from time to time in the new Tartarus. I don't know, but I would really like to see that. Just the whole family together again, at least one more time. Even if it's in prison. Oh, that'd be funny. That'd actually be pretty funny. Though, of course, I can't ignore the fact that I keep saying, oh, this student will fight this member of League of Villains, this student will fight that member of League of Villains. But there's no real reason for the students to actually have to fight the League of Villains. A lot of pro heroes, are dead or quit, but there are still a lot of pro heroes out there who can fight the League of Villains, who can stop the bad guys somehow, some way on their own. So why exactly would the students have to be the ones that, do the fighting? They have to be the ones that actually take out the League of Villains, and that's a very, very good question. I said before, I thought it'd be the heroes invading the Demon Lord's castle, but we could actually get the opposite of that. If Shigaraki and League of Villains attack UA and they're trying to get to Deku, and, each time they come across a student, someone stays behind to fight that student. Toga wants to fight Uraku, so she stays behind for that. Dobby wants to fight Shoto Endeavor, so he stays behind for that. And eventually, it just reaches Shigaraki or somebody actually reaching Deku and Bako having to fight to protect him while Deku is still recovering, while Deku is still trying to master the second quirk so he can actually fight Shigaraki at his full strength. Maybe, I could definitely see that happening. Though again, this does raise the issue of where are the freaking pro heroes? Especially because we just revealed this chapter that a new pro hero is on her way, Miss Stars and Stripes, and what's more, other countries want to send their pro heroes as well, including Salam and Big Red Dot, which I'm actually kind of curious. They're from the newest My Hero Academia movie. Very, very curious about that. But either way, these are the top pro heroes of their respective countries, meaning they're probably at least as strong as Endeavor, and that is, a lot of freaking fighting power. So how exactly is All For One going to counter all this fighting power? How exactly is All For One not going to lose when he's fighting, a dozen different Endeavors all at once? Obviously, that won't be enough to stop All For One, but at the very least, he could stop, the League of Villains, the Paranormal Liberation Army, the Proto-Nomus, the New Nomus, the High-End Nomus, all them. So, yeah, I don't know, it just feels like these heroes are too powerful. These foreign heroes are going to come to Japan and basically just completely alter the balance of power, making it so that Shigaraki is at a much greater disadvantage than he is right now. Curious, very, very curious. So, of course, All For One did plan for this a little bit, as he apparently has connections to every evil organization, every villain organization in the world, and he ordered all of them to just basically go crazy after he attacked Japan, basically telling them, go wild, go nuts right now, so therefore your countries can't send pro-heroes to Japan to lend me a helping hand. And this does make a lot of sense. All For One can give quirks to other people, so there's a good chance he actually established some of those villain organizations around the world, or at least gave their leaders or high-ranked members some quirks, which made them way, way more deadly. Curious, very, very curious about that. And, it does make sense, even beyond that, for them to go crazy right now, because if Japan completely falls, if All For One finishes evolution and turns Shigaraki into the ultimate symbol of destruction, then that basically, is the first domino, and it'll just lead to complete and utter destruction of the entire world. It won't just stop in Japan. Shigaraki will spread to the next country, the country after that, destroying every remnant, every trace of hero society, of pro-heroes, and basically let the villains roam free and do whatever the heck they want, which, is something a lot of villains want. So obviously they're going to do everything in their power to make sure that All For One's plans actually come to fruition. Curious, very, very curious about that. Oh, and I'm also seeing a lot of speculation online that introducing all these foreign heroes, all these foreign countries, is actually setting up for something down the road, a spin-off or a sequel series set somewhere else other than Japan, showing how the balance of power has been changed, showing how her society works in other countries. Curious about that, very, very curious. And then we get to meet the number one hero in all of America, Miss Star and Stripe. And oh my god, she's literally covered in stars and stripes, and she's flying in a freaking fighter plane. Oh, that is so American. That is so overwhelmingly American. I freaking love it. And it is very, very interesting that she refers to All Might as her master, which, curious, very, very curious. If she was actually a student of All Might's, then why was she not given One for All? Why did All Might not pass the power on to her? I mean, I'm seeing a lot of speculation online, and a theory I really do like is that's because she is too patriotic, which, yeah, okay, that sounds really weird when I say it like that, but basically, she is American all the way down to her bones. She is a true American. She loves America. She's never going to leave America permanently, so therefore she can't inherit One for All because One for All's purpose is to go murder All for One. And if she had spent the rest of her life in America, then she never actually ended up fighting All for One, and therefore she wasn't a good choice. She couldn't be given the power because she wouldn't use it for its original purpose, which, makes a lot of sense. A second theory is that, maybe she's too prideful. Maybe she didn't want the quirk because she wanted to become their own hero. She wanted to become someone that was the equal All Might by her own strength, her own quirk, her own training, and therefore she rejected it. That would mean, though, that she is actually aware of All for One, of One for All, of the whole past behind it, which would be interesting, would definitely be interesting. And finally, my personal favorite theory is that she was not actually a student of All Might at all, and is just basically a super fan. She fell in love with All Might, she was obsessed with him, she followed his teachings online, and has just basically modeled her entire hero persona on him, and that's why she views him as her master, which, oh, I love it. I would just absolutely freaking love if that was the case. If, when she actually met All Might, she just started fangirling out about it. Oh, that'd be amazing. It'd be so utterly amazing. I'd freaking love to see that. Anyway, though, back to this chapter, we get to see Stain murdering a rapist. I'm fairly certain this man is a rapist, so good for you, Stain. Good for you. With a sharpened rock. Oh my god, I love it. I also just love how this scene is drawn, just such dramatic with the blood spatter like that. It's so cool. It looks so cool. And then he finds, the control booth where all the prison wardens were before, they were brutally murdered. And, it looks like, that one student from the other hero school whose father was actually a prison guard. Yeah, I don't think he survived at all. I think he's dead. I think he actually died here. And I am hoping that gets brought up at some point because, he modeled his whole hero outfit on his father's because he's so proud of his father for working at Tartarus. So, yeah, how is he going to react to that? Is he going to want to get revenge on All for One because of that? I mean, it feels like there's an important reason why this was mentioned, why this was included in the series, so I'm hoping it's some sort of foreshadowing. I mean, I said in the last video that I thought maybe, that kid and his father were both secretly working for All for One, and that's how All for One was able to interfere, break down the prison so easily. That'd be another interesting twist. That'd definitely be another interesting twist. But thankfully, one of the prison guards is still alive, if just barely, and I do just absolutely freaking love this man's conviction. So does Stain, in fact, as, even as he's dying, even as there's only a few seconds left to live, he's still trying to pull out his gun, he's still trying to fight back, he's still trying to say, no, Stain, you're not the right person, you can't hold this data, I need to make sure it gets to the right person. It's like, dude, who exactly else are you going to find to deliver this data to All Might? I mean, seriously, at the very least, Stain had the right intentions, at the very least, Stain loved All Might, so, yeah, it's either Stain or nobody. But I do just love that he tried so hard to keep the data safe, and because of him, it actually got to All Might, and he found out that Shigaraki was getting revived in 3 days' time, so yay, good for you! And then his last words, are you a man or a beast? I'm merely an ally to the world as it should be. Oh, I love that line. I freaking love that line. It does make a lot of sense. Stain is an awful person. He is a truly awful person, a killer, and, fairly insane at that, but at the same time, he really is just trying to do his best to turn the world into a better place, to turn the world into a place where heroes are truly heroes again. So good for you, Stain. And then after that, he literally jumped off the prison and found a way, somehow, some way to swim all the way back to shore. So again, good for you, Stain. But anyway, then All Might meets the detectives and gives them the data, and wow, Detective Tsukochi, I mean, you look, aged. You look very aged. Clearly this last month has taken a serious toll on you. And then, I just love this part, when All Might's trying to explain, yeah, it doesn't work that way. I can only send data to Deku. Deku can't send data back to me through the quirk vestige unless I'm sitting right next to him. And I just freaking love the look on this Kakop's face. He's like, dude, they're basically talking about cutting off a piece of your soul and sticking it in somebody else. We've already passed range a long time ago. Oh, I love it. So sassy. But anyway, then they find out they have 3 days left, and like I said, that is not enough time for Deku to recover, or for them to plan a musical festival. And that's not how they're spending the last 3 days, planning a freaking musical festival. I mean, that's weird. That is very weird. My best guess right now is that All Might isn't actually going to tell them that's only 3 days left until Shigaraki wakes up, because he's worried that Deku will, go back to trying to fight Shigaraki, try to find him somehow, some way, and basically just kill himself. So they're gonna, basically just keep planning the music festival. And then on the day of the festival, the League of Villains are gonna attack UA, find a way to break through it somehow, some way. And then we're gonna get all the final fights, Toga versus Uraka, Shoto and Endeavor versus Dabi, Redestro versus Dark Shadow. Yeah, I could see that. I could definitely see that. Oh, I'd actually love to see that. I'm not really sure how the other fights would line up, but I am definitely hoping that all the students in Class 1A are going to get a chance to shine in their big final battle against the League of Villains. I mean, that is my hope. That is my true hope. But please, let me tell us down below, what's going to happen next? Is All Might going to tell them they have 3 days left? Are they actually going to go about planning a musical festival somehow? How's Airi doing? I mean, she hasn't, reunited with Deku yet, and I really, really want to see that. Plus, we still have Aizawa, in the hospital. Curious how he's dealing with the whole, robot leg. And we still have his buddy in the basement who's being unbrainwashed as we speak. I mean, if he's able to, break through the mind control that was put on him, then he can be a huge, huge ally to Deku and the rest of them because, he can literally freaking teleport. That's a seriously, seriously broken power, and I would so freaking love to see him working with Aizawa. I mean, if he opens up, a portal to Shigaraki, who's, miles and miles away, then Aizawa can basically look at him from that portal and paralyze him, basically keep him using his quirk while staying relatively safe by himself. So I'd love to see that. I think it'd be a great combo between the two of them. But please leave all down below. Be sure to like, subscribe to the next video. And until then, peace! Sound check 1 2 1 2. Over.